the disclosure before we start the recap. It's 4:05 on August 15th, Thursday, my last video before I leave for Europe. I'm going to Italy tomorrow in the late afternoon. So hopefully you read the disclosure. Let's get to it. Hope everyone is doing okay. A little bit of a range-bound day to say the least. Um, but 25 handles to the upside, 25 handles to the downside, lots of reversion to the means, a lot of packing and filling. Does today change anything? Doesn't feel like it. Let me just make sure I'm not on mute. I'm not on mute. All it did is, give you a day in the life. If you were prepared with some levels, there was definitely some spots to short, definitely some spots to buy, some spots to just sit and do nothing. Some stocks were stronger than others, some weaker. Just a day in the life where, it just you had to execute, you had to know your levels, and you had to net some money. Some days are inflection points. Some days are just a day in the life. Some days are not that important. Today was one of those days where, although the TLT made new 3-year highs, I don't know if that's a top either, but we'll see. Either way, let's just get right to it. Here's the S&P. So I don't even know how many times it crossed this 28.39. I know at halftime when I was doing my video, I was long it, somewhere around here. It then took this out, went below the prior low, which was like 28.35. So my stop was like right around there. They made a new low, but held above this. So, and then reclaimed it when the TLTs came off highs. So watching the relationship between the T and TLT and then also trading the markets has been helpful the past week or so. Every time the TLTs make a higher high, the market gets a little scared. When all of a sudden, spies come in and TLT doesn't go up, then all of a sudden you almost could see that we're going to get some kind of bounce. So that's been a good correlation. So all in all, again, this was your congestion above that 29.50 that turned into a breakout failure that broke the accelerated trend, which was pretty much from around here when it broke this downtrend. That also broke the 8 and 21 day, which is 29.80, which is now curved down. So that was your composure change. That was the spot we went from portfolio approach to tactical approach. What's tactical approach? Tactical approach means you're really not in many positions. You're either taking home longs or shorts, or you're just in a lot of cash and trying to use tactics to make money. Day trading, depending on how you open and where things are at. Some days you gap up, you're shorting against levels. Some days we're gap down and we're looking for buy verse levels, red dog reversals. We're looking to do a lot of different things. But we're not looking to sit. We're not looking to be in harm's way. We're not looking to, have 15 positions like I had somewhere around here, when we were above the 8 and 21 day, and trending. This was a really nice trend. What was that trend? It was above the 8 and 21 day moving average that broke this descending trend line. This changed things for now. So is this, a potential double bottom that's going to mean that, hey, the bulls are back? I don't truly think so. I don't think there was a lot of power. A lot of stocks, were just diverging across the board. It's August 15th. So anyway, I'm long a little spies overnight, very little. Just because, everyone's like, your strategies, if you have a red dog reversal, you can have a nice day trade, and sometimes you could take some for some follow through. So I'm like, you're right. So it's kind of a coin toss. Like, where do I think it can go for up tomorrow? Maybe we can go to 28.73. If something, monumental happens where all of a sudden TLT's down a lot tomorrow, and I don't know what would cause that, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you could even see a move towards, this spot where the moving average is curled down, which is, closer to this 28.95. Or, who does his tweets, and all of a sudden TLTs are at new highs, and we could be right back at the low here, and it could be a trap to, get these guys who just kind of covered and sat tight out. And where can we go? We've talked about this level a few different times. I think there is definitely a high probability that we could see this area, which is 27.28, which this is 10% off highs. Take a look at the macro chart I posted earlier. I kind of want to reconfigure this whole thing, and it shows you what that is in the scheme of the last 11 years. And then it also shows you some of the pullbacks we've had since the 2009 lows that were extreme, that might have warranted the Fed to do something. At this point, this isn't warranting a friggin' mid-meeting cut. 6-7% off highs, 12% up, 13% up for the year. That's just ludicrous. Anyway, that's that. So what did the Qs do today? The Qs also just a day in the life. Went to the bottom end of this resistance zone, so it was good to know where that was if you were playing a bounce, so you were selling into it versus adding. It did make a low of 81.16, so that's your new point of reference, 81.16. A little bit above that other, remember that when 81 was important, it's not as important anymore, so that's 81.16. Still above the 200 day, so it's still showing a little relative strength. And, this is what it is. Not really much to say except for just the day in the life that they couldn't really break it, and it was just a choppy back and forth day where this was a good pivot to know. This was good to know where resistance was, and it was good to kind of know where I guess the 200 day was and last Monday's low. If this area gets taken out, I would think the SPYs are going to be, at new lows for August. We'll see. SPYs again are it's pretty big, a bit of a doji here. Doesn't look like it's doing much. It looks like maybe, what is it, flattish after hours, and a few inside days in here, just say like just say tomorrow's an inside day, which stays below today's high, above today's low, and that to me would be like, wow, no one's really in a rush to be buying here. Then next time this happens and it breaks this spot, or these two pivots, chances are you do not want to be buying that dip, especially if we hang out here for a few days. So we'll see. What did the IWMs do today? I guess held by a thread, this bottom end of the range, but it's just stretched from all the moving averages. Doesn't tell you much except for hopefully you got out on this red dog reversal seller when it broke this channel within a bigger channel, and now that's that. Bank of America, not much of a rally. Wow. Looks like it's breaking this. You can't rule out all the way down there at some particular point. JP Morgan, a little bit stronger than Bank of America, but nothing to write home about. This was your 115 sell stop. That's when it broke the 8-day moving average, or you could have waited and given it to the 21 day and then saved yourself all this pain and maybe even got short. I know a lot of guys in the chat room looking to short the banks when rates were on the decline like that. And now, I guess if this hovers in here and doesn't really bounce, chances are it could roll down again, and that would definitely give you some clues that the bear is going to growl louder. Apple didn't do a whole heck of a lot. Bit of a doji. If you want to take a look at this, I guess it did make a new low while I was out. So this is 199 area. This is your resistance area, and this is in the middle. This is no longer important because it took that out. That was pretty important earlier in the day. Now it's just, we'll see what happens. Does it get tight in here, build a new pocket pivot, and then I guess above this shows markets, acting okay. Below this 199, and better be careful that, a move down to there could happen. At this point, it's just a scalp trade, and it was a little relatively weaker today. Facebook was relatively stronger, but it was relatively weaker yesterday, just showing how it's like diverging everywhere. Still below this 184. Yes, it held major support. This now really doesn't mean much. So at the, in this area now, I guess just see if it hovers in here. If this can't get above 184 for a bit, and then all of a sudden the market gets weak again, that could be the pivot to break. Let's make sure this is saved. Amazon didn't do much today. Holding in here. The longer it stays here, like if tomorrow's another inside day and then all of a sudden we make a leg down when I'm gone, this gives way. Lots of room in Amazon lower down to 1672 or so, or even more. At this point, it's building what looks like a bearish flag. Sometimes the lower level triggers higher, but you can't be positioning for that. I would be flat this thing every single night and just trade the range. And then on this day, that was horrible. But anyway, if it were to break this, chances are tech is making another leg lower. So you just have to be aware of what Amazon's doing here. But can't get to 1672 if it's hovering above 1748 to 1757. So that's your little thing, and hangs out in here again, and doesn't really have much of a rally today. Even with Buffett news saying that they increased their stake by 11%, meaning they're accumulating it and not abandoning it. So, didn't give much excitement. didn't even get to take out this area, which we talked about this morning, resistance 1. So it's always good to know where resistance 1, resistance 2 is, so you know what type of day it is, and you're not paying up when you should be selling it, and you're not, pressing when you should be playing the bottom end until the ranges break. This will be, if it gets up and stays above this, then hey, that could happen. Gets and stays below this, then that could happen. That's the simple version of it. Netflix was really weak. Broke below this pivot when it mattered, so a lot of people probably got stopped out, put in a new low here, and save this. And now, it's just really no man's land. Off today's low, so this is your point of reference. In order to get to 278, it's got to break 288. In order to do that, it's got to stay below this 305. If it wants to rally a little bit, then that's going to be your next resistance area. But all in all, definitely broken ever since this gap down here. It's below all the moving averages. When momentum names are below all the moving averages, you do not sit, you trade. And chances are you try and trade more from a short side than a long side. Twitter's hanging on by a thread. Broke that 40, but held this 390, held this. So I don't think you need to be sitting in anything. If you're sitting in Twitter, just take care. This is that spot. Twitter looks better than most names, but has to hold 39.60. So if the market knows it's going down another 3 or 4%, which it doesn't know what it is, chances are this is going to be, filling this gap and getting all the way down towards here. If, today's low is the double bottom red dog reversal inflection point low of August, then this can hold. But it's hard. You can't say that. The jury's out. TLT, I don't know, not quite a topping tail. It's definitely stretched. I did trigger some here. I did sell some 148.50 calls for tomorrow, so I'm in a little bit of harm's way. I did that same thing here, and this closed like that. This time it did not do that, so I feel okay that I could trade around it, tomorrow. I know guys were shorting it, and I feel like into strength you can short it. Let's hope tomorrow, if even let's just have an inside day. Does it have to make a higher high every friggin' day? Holy cow! Anyway, this is how extended it is from the 8-day. The 8-day is all the way here, and typically it gets back to it no matter how crazy it was. Actually didn't come back to it until we played it that day. So we'll see how it goes. Where to close. 147.31. So I have $1.20 to 148.50, plus I got paid I think 40 cents. So I've really up to 149 tomorrow. So if you short this, it's a good way to short it when you have a day left into a trend like that. It gives you a little bit more room to the strike and gives you a little premium, and then you can trade around it. But this is a dangerous trade. We didn't do it here. I didn't do it here. Did it for a day and a half there, so I feel like I could do it again. And there's an art to it. But again, you're fighting a very strong trend that looks a little overdone short term. Even if the rates go to 0, does it have to go to 0 by Labor Day? Maybe. Beyond was a great trade for some of you. Congratulations if you guys caught it. I did not catch it. I was just busy doing other things, I guess. I should have been focusing on this, and I didn't, ask for a borrow. Went all the way down to 137. Wow. It's good to know your levels, and if this was what you were looking for, hopefully today you got paid. It did happen fast, so you had fast money, it trended all day, you could have picked and chosen when you wanted to cover, and congratulations to those who did it. What's Pins doing? It's just trying to hold this earnings gap, but you have to be careful. Broke this spot. If I was in it, well, I was in it, I got stopped out on this loose and wide day. Loose and wide days sometimes, aren't good because people lose faith. But anyway, if you're in it still, make sure you have this as your stop. LK, not much of a bounce here. If it's in your IRA, it's in your IRA. If you're trading it, make sure you have a stop there. Still a big gap here, pro gap that needs to get filled. I thought the CFO was pretty cool on TV, did a good job, but we'll see. We'll see what kind of appetite there are for Chinese names. We'll see what Baba does. But till this gap is filled, it's kind of technically in the penalty box. This was a great trade here. Remember that, above the 8-day, using levels, etc., etc. Now it's a different trade. It needs time. CRWD, what did you do today? It's hanging. You could even maybe lift this up a little bit if you want to be a little tighter on your stop. That could be you know, 90-ish. But hard to trust anything to make higher highs when the market's still so vulnerable. Twilio hanging on here by a thread. Coop hanging on here by a thread. Team, what are you doing? Hanging around, but broke this upper flag. If you were going to play for a new high, and then just taking its time. You know, what else? What else? What else? What else? What Roku do today? Remember this? This was a nice RDR sell. Some of you guys are still in it. Looks as if it could see the 8-day topping tail. This gives you your signal to you can be short. It's burst a level, and if you did so, you made money. This helped me a lot the other day. I was shorted overnight. I actually did what I'm not really supposed to do by cost averaging, but I felt, you know, after this gap up this day, I felt like I could trade around it. You know, doing this 22 years, I could, on a fifth day up, space it out, trade around it, and then when I see a signal, because I'm already invested watching it, then I could really get in there and make sure the trade turns on. Sometimes it's better just to wait for that signal for the trade to turn on and do it versus a level versus taking the pain, because you might be in too much pain before it finally happens, and then you don't even want it to happen, and then you're like, boom, I can't believe I was in this earlier, and it happened later. That happens. Oh, I hate when that happens. So, you know, going back to this, again, doesn't look so fantastic here. Not much of a bounce, just a pause. You know, the longer it stays below 287 or 288, the more prone it could be to break this area and see this area while I'm gone. I am leaving for Italy tomorrow. I leave at 6 o'clock flight, so I will be in Short Hills in the morning. I don't have much going on at all. I'm short some of those TLT calls. I'm along a little spiders just because, which I probably shouldn't be in, but enough where it doesn't really matter. Today was a decent day. I don't see anything else that I should be in a rush to be in. And stay tactical, guys. Keep your size down. Keep the amount of positions down. Trade the ranges or the spots that make sense, not the spots in the middle, so you don't get caught, you know, short too early and then get squeezed out and then it goes lower, or buying too early, you know, at a level that makes no sense and then it goes down, gets you out, and then gives you what you wanted to do. You know, that's how you limit things happening without you, if your idea is right, is by waiting a little bit more for the right area versus the noisy area, or the compelling area, that not the, you know, no man's land, which I call it. It's 4:23 on August 15th. I told Mike, my my editor, to send me a chart of the S&P cash every single day. If I can, I'll try and post that chart and just do a few sentences of what I'm seeing from afar. Don't count on it. You're going to be getting a lot of commentary from Cooper and some of our other guys. Just read them and take them with a grain of salt. You know, everyone has a different style. Don't do what they're doing just because they're doing it. Listen and learn, and just, or not even learn. Well, you'll learn. You can learn, but just take everything with a grain of salt. And I will try and at least once a day reach out, but I'm not going to be watching the market. I am not going with crazy positions. You know, it's been so far a crazy year, but I am, you know, pretty damn close to the highs of my year and my quarter. So I really want to go away, enjoy my family, my son. I love Italy. See her family. We're going to Rome for like 3-4 days, and then we're going to go to Positano for a few days in Capri, and I'll be back full force, you know, right after Labor Day. I think I get in a day or two before then, but so I'm really going to try and disconnect, and with the hour changes and this and that, it makes sense. And if some of you guys are in Italy, you know, email me, scott@t3live.com. Maybe, you know, meet you for a drink or a cup of coffee or a swim or a hike, something like that, or not. So I do appreciate all of you. Thanks for the interactions. I hope everyone's feeling good, and have the pay. Thanks for, you know, understanding that vacations do happen. You know, you need to take some time and recharge, so this way you could be ready to roll every day, like I am at 4:45, writing my note, doing the morning call video, updating 14 to 20 charts, getting on the radio, trading, then doing a mid, and then going on TV, and then trading the close, and then doing the recap, and then posting charts. It's day in, day out. So gotta, you know, recharge. So whatever you do day in, day out, you got to make sure if you're feeling like you're a little burnt out or a little frustrated or a little stubborn, which I'm not saying I'm feeling those things, you know, definitely take a break and find your balance. I will be in touch. Have a good one.